You what up, everybody? This is your boy, Joshua Wysocki, giving you another Goosebumps book review. Okay, today our Goosebumps book review will be Night of the Living Dummy 3. So let me just put that out here to find it first. Okay, so the story goes that Trina and Dan, her brother Dan, have a father who's used to have an ventriloquist act. So upstairs they have an attic full of dummies that his father used to use. So what happened was one night Trina's sleeping, the opening of the book, and she hears a noise coming up from the attic. So she thinks someone's upstairs, so she goes up to the attic and she sees she's looking around. Remember, this is a very old house, so there's creaks and stuff like that. So it turns out all of a sudden she hears a noise coming from one of the dummies, and it's the Rocky, the head dummy that sits on the armchair, and says, "Hey Trina, you shouldn't be up here. It's past your bedtime." And then her brother shows up, okay, and says, Yo, Trina, I heard you upstairs. No, I thought it was you. No. And then they both look at the thing, and it's the dummy starts laughing, and they both say it's Dad. So they both go and grab the dummy, and it turns out it's Dad's hand was under a hole, working the dummy's maneuvers. So he basically turns out that his dad found another dummy called Slappy. Now all of you who know the Night of the Living Dummy would know that Slappy's the main villain. So they're all talking about how Slappy's a classic, a dummy with class. Okay? And then Trina notices that in his suit pocket is that card. She reads it aloud, and the troubles ensues. Then they say, okay, so everything turns out, so then they say, that her mother comes up and says, "Oh great, now there's another dummy I have to polish," and she's joking around, and she said, "Not only that, but I wanted to be here for tomorrow because their cousin Zane's coming." And if you ever seen the actual episode of Night of the Living Dummy 3, the guy who plays Zane is none other than a young Hayden Christensen. Yes, a young Anakin Skywalker plays Zane from the Goosebumps episode. Anyways, so the funny thing was, so they're all like, oh, they don't like their cousin. I don't know why they don't like their cousin. I love my cousins, all of them. They're all cool kids, cool and nice guys. Can they be jerks sometimes? A little bit, but it's not here nor there. Okay? I love all my cousins. So I guess they don't like him because he's too easy to scare, or they just don't like him either because he's snotty or something. I never understood the reason why they don't like him. So they always play cool pranks on him, and this time they are told, no pranks on Zane while Zane's here. You cannot do that, or else there'll be serious consequences. So at first, things get off to a great start, and it turns out that so the first night they're sleeping over, Zane wakes up and sees Rocky in a hockey mask, which is Dan's hockey mask, over his bed, and he starts freaking out and starts grabbing his pillow and hitting Rocky with the pillow and freaks out. And everyone walks into the rooms, and everyone's like, "What's going on?" And they're all like, "He's trying to kill me." And he points to the dummy and he says, "All right, who put Rocky in Zane's room?" And that's what the dad says. And Trina's like, "Don't look at me. That's Daniel's mask." And then Dan comes into the mix from the door and says, "All right, what's going on?" "All right, snow. Or feathers?" So I forgot what he said. He was like, "All right, snow." He says, "What's going on?" He says, "What's going on?" He says, "Come on, don't act dumb." "No, I don't know. What's going on?" He says, "You put Rocky in Zane's room." "I did not. Don't probably ask Trina. She probably did it." They both swear they didn't do it. So no, after their recent history of bullying and pranking Zane, okay, parents don't believe them, so they get told to do chores. Then another trick was that they took pictures or they messed with his photos, which he is actually a good photographer, okay, and they both claim they didn't do it, but the parents are not having it, so they get grounded again and dead do chores. The third and final time they get grounded is when their mother makes it a celebratory feast in Zane's honor, and the feast is totally ruined. And again, they both believe it's the kids, okay? So they get grounded from ever going into they're not allowed to go to summer camp this year is their punishment. Then finally, Zane, they decided to do that. So his dad goes up, brings all the dummies in the attic, including Slappy, and locks the door, okay? And puts them in a box and then tapes the box shut and says, "You're never going to touch my dummies again." And then they decide that they were going to sneak out and wait to catch someone. Trina tries to catch Dan, and Dan was trying to catch Tina. She walks up there, and he says, "Aha, gotcha." Says, and it's like, "No, I was catch you. No, I came up here and I look who I see, trying to see who trying to get the dummies. You, don't you point your finger at me." He's like, and then all of a sudden they hear a noise coming up from the stairs, so they hide. And it turns out it's Zane who's been doing all this shit, but all of the shit. He did the prank with Rocky. He screwed up his own photos on purpose, and he destroyed the feast. And he's telling him out loud, not saying, "Oh, I'm gonna put you." He takes dummy out of the box. "Oh, I'm gonna put you in the shower. Oh, I'm gonna put you in the what's something." And then they throw their voices. It looks like zany boys, or Zane has been a very naughty boy. What? And he's like he's trying to play it off like, what's going on? And it's like, and it says, "Haha, we got you." Says, "No, look, you don't understand." "Oh yeah, give me the sob story." They're like, and they're going to go report him to their parents. And then then Sabi comes around and says, "You know what, Zane? You wanted to be a prankster. Well, do you, Zane? Well, let me show you how the masters do it." And then since Zane has to do the chores, and since they're like, "I guess your parents hate me as much as you hate me," says, "I don't think our parents hate you. I think they're just surprised that it was you all along." Says, "But you really got us back from last time." Said, "Yeah." And I guess since then they just became friends, I guess. From like how out of them being pranked back, they finally become friends. And it was like, I guess our experiment worked. I guess we deserve it. So his parents are watching from like the window. Says, "Oh, so I guess we should go out on a date." "Yeah, I think we deserve it." Yeah. So they both are deciding to watch they're playing a game, and I think one of the rooms they're watching, and one of them's looking at the TV guide. Says, "Oh, there's a monster movie marathon on tonight from 8 to 9. What time are your parents home?" Says, "They're going to get home till getting late. Not home until late. So we'll have time to scare ourselves silly," is what they said. And he's like, "Great. Does everybody want a drink?" She says, "Okay." Trina says, "Okay, yeah, I do." They both say, "I do." And they say, "Okay, I'll come. I'll be right back." So she goes into the kitchen, gets I think 4 sodas, and then all of a sudden she goes into the other room and sees dummies on the ceiling fan and stuff like that, and they're like, and she's like, "Zane," and they're all coming down. It's like, "What?" Says, "You don't know when to quit, do you?" He's like, "What do you mean?" Says, That's what I mean." And they're all pointing at this like, "Come on, I was with you guys all day. I didn't do it. Oh, come on, Zane. Don't just own up to it." He's like, "I didn't do it." Says, "Then who did?" And then he points to whoever did that, and he points to the water container carrier, and in a water container carrier is a dummy. Then he says, "Okay, well, and then says, well, wait a minute, was he there before? And they point to Slappy, and Slappy's just standing on the table, sitting on the table, and says, no. Says, why are you afraid of the dummies? Well, as they looked at him like, when I was afraid of the dummies, they made a more convincing thing. He says, we're not playing, we're actually afraid. And then he's like, oh, okay. So he tries to go out and prove them that it's not real. And he says, Zane, didn't you say my dad kicked you yesterday? And he's like, that Slappy kicked you yesterday? Yeah, but I think your dad was just playing a joke or pressed the wrong lever or something. And he's like, no, see, our dad would never do that. So that's the case. Yeah. So how does that even bring? Okay. So if that doesn't mean how he got here, Slappy got here now, right? No. I mean, they don't explain. So he tries to prove to him that Slappy's not alive by saying, come on, Slappy, old buddy, old pal, kick me. Come on, I dare you. Kick me right here. See? How come he's not doing it now, huh? How come? And then Slappy just kicks him in the butt and says, you didn't say please. And then basically there's a huge fight ensues. They capture Slappy into his own box, lock him in his own crate, and dump him in a well. All of them three decided they don't want to watch a scary movie marathon or monster movie marathon because they've already got a monster. They already got the fight of their lives already. What's the point of doing it now? So they all decided to turn in. While Trina's reading a book, she's about to go turn over, and then Slappy's right there. As waiting up for little old me, and he coughs up a frog. Says, frog in my throat. And the hilarity and things ensue. Anyways, Fred add in that Slappy had enlisted the help of another dummy by using one of his powers to... See, Slappy has pretty cool powers. One, he can breathe life into other dummies, as well as turning humans into dummies, which is a pretty cool thing. So he goes in through the vents, and then Dan comes in with a baseball bat saying, what's going on? What's going on? Dan's like, Slappy's a lot back. He's like, oh, no, you gotta be joking. You gotta be joking. It's like, no. So they go into Dan. They hear him going into Zane's room, and he turns Zane into a dummy. So they have to fight Slappy. They think that they can reread the words backwards on the card. It will stop and defeat him, but it won't. It doesn't defeat him. It actually just doesn't do anything. He plays along and tricks them, but it doesn't work. So he then enlists Rocky to hurt them severely. And Trina basically says to Rocky, I like Rocky because he's like a gangster dummy. Like he is a gangster dummy, and I like his character and how he speaks. Well, in the episode and in the story. So he says to Trina says to him, yo, Rocky, you were never anybody's slave. You're not my dad's slave. Dad, whenever Dad had a charity function or anything to do, he always chose you. I mean, you're a part of our family. He loves you. And we love you. And you'll always be a part of our family. And then he says, don't you see? He works for me now. That dumb says, and then he turns around and punches Slappy in the face. And he says, never go against the family. Which I liked about because it shows like a mafia reference or something. Okay, yeah, because that's what mafia is based off of, a family. He says, never go against the family. And he's a big scuffle ensues. And then he tries to breathe life into another dummy to get help from him. And he says, keep your damn nasty breath to yourself. More like is what he doesn't say that, but he says, keep your bad breath to yourself. And he throws him outside of a window. And it's while the thunderstorm is, and he's like hanging on a ledge by his fingertips. And he says, don't you get it? You can't beat me. I'm invincible. And then a thunderbolt hits him and blows him up. Rocky goes back to lifeless, and Zane becomes a normal again. So the end of the story is they all decided they're going to go to Zane's house for next Christmas, the kids. And on the way walking out, Zane's head does a 360-degree turn where it's facing the back of his body and says, goodbye, cousins. See you later. And that's the end of the story. And it goes back to Zane and Dana, and Dan and Trina are looking at each other like, what the fuck just happened? That's it, guys. See you later. Tell me in the comments below what story you want next.